I love the community that sprouted up around me and the rest of the tech YouTubers. It really does feel like we're one big family sometimes, doesn't it? But like every family, there's at least one of us that's the weird uncle with the crazy tech hot takes. And if I had to pick one out, let's just say it's probably not Austin. But if there's one thing I've learned reading an obsessive amount of YouTube comments, is that I'm not the only one with awful takes. I mean, look at this one. I mean, sure, forcing USB-C on mobile phones forever isn't the best idea, but come on, Apple's been using Lightning, which is USB 2, for 10 years. Doesn't exactly feel like they're trying to innovate over there. So that's right, folks. Today I'm gonna be reacting to some of the absolute worst takes from you guys, courtesy of those of you who were primary sex characteristic-y enough to share them on Twitter. Internally, we have a rule. Don't attack the audience no matter how wrong or how stupid they are. But we're making an exception today because you guys specifically put yourselves out there ready for my rebuttals. Let's kick things off by elaborating on this a little bit. Yes, in the very, very long term, everyone being stuck with USB Type-C could ultimately be a problem. Except that in the phone space, see, I'm gonna get myself in trouble here. I don't see us needing more than 5 or 10 gigabit per second, ever. By the time we do, it's likely that companies like Apple and their follow-alongs will have ditched cables altogether in favor of more wireless charging and wireless data transfer standards. So I see your point, but also you're wrong. Max here. Mac OS is just plain better for professionals. Professional what? Man, I see that argument all the time. X is better for pros. Y is only for... Do you know how many different kinds of professionals there are? Some professionals never leave a web browser, in which case Chromebooks are probably just plain better for them. What about professional engineers? macOS is dog for that. Stewart says. Samsung SSDs should not be put on the pedestal they seem to stay on. Years ago, they were the safe bet. They are not the only option anymore. I don't know if this even qualifies as a hot take. The only reason Samsung has ended up on the pedestal that they have is because they were consistently at or near the top of the performance charts and, perhaps more importantly, consistently among the lowest RMA rate drives as rated by Puget Systems. As for whether that's changed, I'd have to check if Puget has released their latest reliability report. Update on Samsung SSD reliability from last month. Blah, 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 incredibly low failure rate, something changed in the last year. 980 Pro 2 terabyte. Wow, they've switched over to Sabrent. I still remember like it was yesterday when Sabrent came out of absolutely nowhere with these great products, and they've just continued to innovate from there. Good for them. But with that said, I think this is a really valuable lesson here that no matter which brand it is, you should never be loyal to the brand and always evaluate the product individually. God, on the other hand, tech reviews are often wildly removed from the intended user experience. What someone who switches phones several times a year wants in a phone is not representative of the user experience most companies are targeting. This one, I'm not sure I agree with. There are things about the tech reviewer lifestyle that can give us blind spots. For example, when I was reviewing a super low-end device, I would make it a habit to carry an iPhone or at least a high-end Android phone around in my back pocket in case my kids or my pets do something adorable so they're not stuck with a potato camera. That's not a luxury that someone buying that phone as their only device would have. However, when you are fully switching between devices, one after the other, I feel it can actually give you a much keener eye, both for what is better about one and what's worse. And that's part of the reason that you guys watch us, for that experience that we've built up using all these different devices. Oh, Max is back. Apple's 30% fee is fine and fair. As an app developer, I'm not happy to have to pay it, but I'm not delusional about why it's there. It's not an Apple tax, it's a platform fee, just like Shopify, Amazon, Uber. See, that's the difference. You list a bunch of things that are not monopolies. Amazon, for all of their anti-competitive behavior, is not a monopoly. You can go shop on Walmart.com or BestBuy.com, and you can decide to shop somewhere where they have a lower markup. The point is not whether the 30% is fine and fair. In fact, it's the same 30% that Valve takes on Steam. The point is that Apple lacks competition and they unilaterally decide that 30% is fine and fair. That's the problem. The fact that you're even making this argument means that you fundamentally do not understand what's going on here. Apple as a monopoly isn't a valid argument because a property developer has a monopoly on selling apartments in the building they built.
Except there's other f***ing buildings.
Is this guy serious?
Yeah.
Oh. Mathematica Ken. The cheapest cell-enabled iPad works better and has more features than the most expensive car infotainment system. Right? That ain't even a hot take. That's the coldest take. It's ice cold. I am gonna take so much crap for this video, I don't even. Thin and light laptop with eGPU, set up like a desktop, is better than a traditional tower PC. So you have both the performance when you're stationary and the ability to take it with you on the go. You're not wrong, but you're out of touch. See, the issue is not that the convenience of a thin and light with an eGPU isn't great. The issue is that it's so expensive. I mean, even ignoring how costly GPUs have gotten, you're adding what? Now another $300, $400 for the enclosure that goes around it, plus whatever extra you end up paying for a laptop that has a nice gaming capable CPU and a 4-lane PCIe Thunderbolt connector on it. It's a very costly option. And it's loud. Shank mods, well, this can't be that bad of a hot take. Pebble is the only smartwatch ever made that doesn't suck. 100% agree with you. I've been trying to go back to it. I've been trying to use that one you gave me, but I had trouble getting Rebel to work in less than 3 minutes, and then I put it down and kind of forgot about it. I will deal with it. DVI is the best video connector. Okay, but DVI DL, okay, dual link DVI, slightly better. Smartphone hardware peaked at the Note 9. Okay, are you trolling me? Are you mocking me? Specifically as a gaming device, the Raspberry Pi is overrated. The number of people that talk about like Raspberry Pi, okay, if all you wanna play is like MAME stuff, sure. How many people unironically sit and while away the afternoon playing MAME games? Natural DL. The days of Skype were great, and I understand why Discord didn't overtake Skype in popularity immediately. With that being said, Discord is on top more out of necessity and ease of use rather than being a clear winner. I gotta say, trying to use Discord for the first time, it's kind of a crap interface. And if Skype had been slightly less garbage, I think a lot of gaming communities would not have bothered to switch over. Though, I'm gonna counter with my own hot take. If Microsoft hadn't nerfed, then killed MSN Messenger, we wouldn't have needed either of them. The reason we stopped using Skype though was nothing to do with the functionality of the software and everything to do with some vulnerabilities, and I think it was the protocol. Basically, there were these tools called IP resolvers that, assuming that you had someone's Skype username, you could use to get their IP. So whether you were gaming with people you didn't know that well, or say, hosting a live video podcast, if anyone figured out what your user account was, they could resolve your IP and DDoS you. Great. Airy. Physical keyboards on phones from 10 years ago, infinitely better than touchscreen keyboards of today. That is, wow, is that ever wrong? As someone who has gone back to a phone with a physical keyboard not that long ago, let me tell you, it felt good back then, but it was crap. Special characters, forget about it. Hot take, the removal of headphone jacks is a positive step forward. 1, if Bluetooth headphones are owned by most people prior, then it's not really an issue, but they weren't. 2, cables are annoying and get tangled. Wireless do not. Okay, but they get lost. 3, wireless price equals wired price? The f are you talking about? Why would you say stuff that's just demonstrably false? Wireless price equals what? No, it isn't. Terry says ray tracing is pointless. Doesn't add anything of value to gameplay, and most of the time you're moving too fast in game to actually appreciate the better reflections. Use that extra horsepower for more frames. I have to stop you here because in a utopia, right, where ray tracing hardware is plentiful, basically everyone has it, and game developers can assume that if they build their game lighting engine with ray tracing in mind, that everyone will be able to run it. in theory, it actually dramatically simplifies the process of lighting a game, which adds a layer of realism and immersiveness that simply cannot be replicated with our fakey light reflections that we've been doing for the last 20, 30 years. The problem is that we're in this in-between stage right now where it does feel gimmicky and it does have a significant performance impact, but you can tell that NVIDIA in particular is playing an extremely long game here, and I do think ray tracing is here to stay, and it could be a benefit in the long run. Smartphones for $300 are now sufficient for all tasks in terms of hardware. No one should spend more money. Yeah, I can't even disagree with that. They're sufficient. However, there are certainly features that are beneficial on smartphones that cost more. For example, you cannot get a $300 smartphone that does this. It simply doesn't exist. Kizu, ultra-wide is, and I quote, garbage. All right, I was big on the ultra-wide train for a long time. Then I came around to actually Wendell from Level 1 Tech's argument, where he kind of goes, have you looked closely at the pricing of these things? They basically cost the same as a 16:9 monitor that's the same width, but also happens to be taller. So in terms of pixels per dollar, it's much better. If you really want the ultra-wide experience, why don't you just put black bars at the top and bottom of your screen? And if you have an OLED, that's a pretty strong argument, especially if you're sitting in the dark. But then I got my hands on Corsair's 43-inch curved monitor, and I was sitting just kind of using it as part of the review process, and I was like, oh, there's nothing quite like it, is there? Steam Deck is destined to be discontinued. I don't even need to keep reading this. That's a terrible take. Steam Deck is going to, Steam Deck has already changed the gaming industry. Valve is now officially a console manufacturer. They're planning for a long life cycle for this thing. They are courting developers, they are doing all the right things, and they've got the revenues to support this product in the long term through their, yes, 30% take on Steam game sales. Steam Deck is here to stay. Karen, I love motion blur. What the f***? Especially at higher frame rates? Why don't you put Vaseline on your screen? Honestly, if you like blur, I mean, why do we even bother trying to build low persistence displays? Why don't you go get like a Dell flat panel from 2005? You'd love it. You get this nice little smeary trail behind every moving object on the screen. It's great. The one justification for motion blur, okay, is games that run at 30 FPS and you need some way to hide that awful judder as you're panning the camera around. That's why it exists. It doesn't exist because it looks good. Dex Fox, switching to an EV isn't as environmentally impactful as one might think, especially when everyone's expected to buy the new shiny thing. Expanding public transit, building walkable cities, and preventing e-waste is far more impactful. No doubt. The problem is, I'm assuming this, but I have no way of verifying it. No, you're from Salt Lake City. I would have assumed you're European, because a big part of the problem is that in North America, I don't see any path back to walkable cities. There is literally nothing within walking distance of my house, and the only way to fix that would be to bulldoze entire neighborhoods and build more like what? Like shopping centers, restaurants, entertainment. It ain't happening. RCS Rex, Linux will never take off like people say it will. Linux has already taken off. Do I need to remind you, Steam Deck, 1 million units in sales. Do you think 1 million Linux gaming computers ever in the entire history of Linux existed before? Well, there are 1 million now, right now in people's hands. Miss micro USB. Micro USB along with micro HDMI is one of the worst connectors ever made. I actually do not believe, I think they are lying about the advertised durability of micro USB. That thing is a piece of garbage. USB-C is not a good standard. There are too many inconsistencies in implementation, and Apple was right to resist it for iPhones until their hand was forced. Don't take my word for it. Apple thinks you're wrong. Look at the way they equip their higher tier, more functional, more premium products with USB-C, like the iPad. With PC makers like Lenovo selling laptops with Fedora and successes by HP, we'll see many more desktops and laptops with Linux. 2025 is the year of the Linux desktop. 2025, man. You're giving yourself over 2 years for this to come true. That's enough time for Windows 12 to come out and be like 2 sucks in a row. And if that happens, you might be right. Jeff says, SSD was the only technological revolution in the computer world for the last 2 decades? 2 decades? Good gravy. Going all the way back to 2003? No, multi-core. Multi-core was huge. Do you not remember? If we didn't get multi-core processors, that SSD would be bottlenecked by your stupid single-core processor. NVIDIA didn't kill SLI based on greed. NVIDIA killed SLI because high-resolution gaming and the faster GPUs they kept building necessitated such a fast interconnect between the GPUs that it just got so cost ineffective for the limited number of users and game developers that were being served by SLI technology. It just stopped making sense. I get it. I don't have to like it, but I get it. Okay, Narwhal. In terms of features, AMD's drivers on Windows are so much better than NVIDIA's. I love that I can see performance metrics, overclock, and undervolt my GPU. Wow. Spoken like someone who has not used an NVIDIA card in a very long time. GeForce Experience is not the driver. That's a separate utility. You don't even have to install it. Like, yeah, sure, it's just another game launcher or whatever, but it also has performance metrics. It doesn't allow you to overclock and undervolt, but I mean, I would make the argument that it's fine to have a third-party utility for that, especially given how much more functional they are anyway, even compared to AMD's built-in tools. And features? NVIDIA has way more features. I mean, look at the last week alone. They just announced VSR, their video upscaling feature that uses your GPU to smooth and sharpen web video. It's really cool, and AMD has absolutely nothing to respond to it. 99% of tech tubers love to talk about how great AMD is and how everyone should buy it, but at the end of the day, name a tech tuber that uses AMD as a daily driver outside of a challenge. I've been daily driving an AMD CPU for 3.5 years. Yeah, ever since I upgraded to Threadripper. What's up? PCs are at the verge of being obsolete for gamers? Looking at the performance, affordability, and range of games on current consoles, this is just cyclical. It always happens. The first year or two after a new generation of consoles launches, they are untouchable in terms of price to performance ratio. And then Sony and Microsoft just sit there and let the hardware stagnate and become obsolete. PCs catch up, and then a new generation of consoles comes out, it leapfrogs, and so on and so forth. This is what happens when you ignore all the historical context and focus only on the moment at hand. There is no point unlocking your frame rate. Your PC will render frames that can't be displayed past the refresh rate, creating unnecessary strain on your hardware and costing more electricity, which is a waste of money and worse for the environment. Unfortunately, you are wrong. When you render at a higher frame rate, even higher than your display can support, what you're doing is you are reducing the latency and therefore the perceived performance of the game, even if you don't see more than one of those frames for every refresh rate of your display. We made a whole video about it featuring Shroud. It's got like over 10 million views. Maybe that view count should be 10,000,001 after you watch it and get yourself educated. Pure. Future-proofing is possible. For example, by getting a powerful CPU now would allow you to upgrade your GPU later when games become more demand. You drank the Kool-Aid, Pierre. If you get the mid-range CPU today, and by the mid-range CPU, 3 years down the road when it's time to upgrade your GPU, that would be a better experience overall than spending twice as much on your CPU today. It's just math. Polaris. Apple is not overpriced, especially when you consider how long their products last and that they make all their own hardware too. No, they don't. I don't mind paying the Apple tax to get a MacBook that will last many years over a PC that I will upgrade in a few years. Okay, the fact that you choose to upgrade your PC is a completely irrelevant point to how long that PC will last. And this is something I've seen so many times. I'm reminded of the time that my uncle's business partner showed me his amazing MacBook Air. He goes, "Look how fast this thing boots, it's outstanding. You know how they did it? Solid state drive." I go, "Yeah, I know, Phil. I've got an SSD in my computer at home. Apple didn't f***ing invent them. It's just the fact that Apple users tend to compare against PCs that are not as well equipped as the Apple computers that they're comparing against. So while you're kind of right in that there is no Apple tax, by being right about that, you are wrong about how long that device will last you, because if you buy a high quality PC device that's at the same price and similarly equipped, it can last you a very long time. At this point, Noctua just can't release any product that they're becoming irrelevant. Like, are you buying an HD 15 at this point considering other options? Yes. Man, Noctua has so many benefits beyond just the performance, the fact that you can get new mounting hardware for new sockets as they come out. Nothing would prevent you from using a Noctua cooler from like 12, 13 years ago, emailing them being like, hey, I need mounting hardware for socket AM5, and you're ready to go. Gavin says, megatransfers per second is the right performance metric for DRAM and not megahertz. I don't know. We switched over to megatransfers per second mostly just to bother Ian. Dr. Cuttress. Oh my God, Max is back. Lack of side loading on iOS is a good thing, and it should remain a closed system. People only want it because it makes piracy easier without having to figure out jailbreak and app sync. Yeah, it would have nothing to do with just common sense things that Apple doesn't build into their operating system, like, oh, I don't know, T9 dialing or whatever else. Alternate app stores are a huge security risk because you can't know if the official Instagram app downloaded from not CCP App Store has been, what? Well, then you would just download from the official App Store. This is the thing that Apple users who argue about this seem to not really understand. The existence of alternate app stores does not, in fact, mean that you would not be able to use the official one. Neural Canvas. AI art is the modern day renaissance that is yet again giving everyday people the ability to creatively express themselves. The only people complaining are the ones who see their art as nothing but a cash cow and not showing up their passion and creativity. Okay. Wanting to be fairly compensated for your work does not mean that you see art as a cash cow rather than a showing of your passion and creativity. It means that you expect the value of what you've created to turn into some kind of value back to you if it's creating value for someone else. This is a pretty bad take. Using gyro aim on a controller with aim assist and acceleration turned off is better than a mouse and keyboard though. Better than a controller, yeah, but you probably just aren't very good with a mouse and keyboard. Headphones are the worst. They heat up your ears and destroy your hearing. Speakers for the win. They only destroy your hearing if you turn them up too loud, just like speakers.
That's clean.
And they heat up your ears. I mean, I guess. Ryzen CPUs are touted to be the best value processors on the market. Okay, we talked about brand loyalty and just painting with broad brushes. Not necessarily, but let's continue. While that's true on benchmarks and in-game performance, they tend to be less user-friendly because of all the frequent bugs and glitches what are you even talking about? Are you talking about first gen Ryzen? Ryzen 1000? You are so out of date here. Retro Breezy, what is Mac even good for? All I see is that Mac and iPhones are products for rich people to only buy them for the excuse that they have money. Anything Mac can, so Windows and Linux can do better. No. There are exclusive softwares that you can only get on Mac. I mean, we did a whole video on reasons that Mac OS is just plain better. If you use Final Cut, man, you are gonna want Mac. In fact, even running Premiere, we find that it is more stable on Mac OS than it is on Windows. Another thing Mac's really good for is continuity, okay? Being able to take what you're doing between devices, there's just no analog like it on the PC side of things. I've really tried, but have never been able to understand the appeal of gaming while on the go. Just not the same as a monitor with a proper mouse and keyboard. All I have to say is, I guess you've never really commuted on transit. Because when I was taking the SkyTrain back in the day, having a Nintendo that I could just have in my pocket or in my backpack, absolute game changer to take away the boredom. Dark mode may be better for your eyes, but in terms of legibility, light mode greater than dark mode. I'm a light mode boy, not gonna lie. There's a couple of sites that I go dark mode on, like our forum, for example. I tend to use dark mode, but in general, I browse in light mode. Edge greater than Chrome. I mean, I'm not gonna argue that Chrome isn't kind of a piece of crap these days, but I just can't get used to the Edge interface. Cars shouldn't have an infotainment system. The screen in the dash is all that's needed. See Ferrari 296 GTB. No? Yeah, no, 100%. I would rather have a touchscreen that I can interact with. Like, I want to type in a destination or something like that. What am I gonna do? Use that ridiculous, stupid Audi little like touch trackpad and draw letters on it like a child and finger painting or something? No. Honorito apparently got a reply from one of our staffers on this. Okay, as someone who loves tech, gaming, etc., I wish games were shorter. Games have trended towards padding their hours with grind-heavy content to justify their cost. Yeah, it's not even trended towards. That has literally always been a problem, right? Arcade games were unnecessarily difficult so that you would have to keep feeding the machine with quarters. And then during the rental era, you know, your SNES, PlayStation, games were unnecessarily padded so that you couldn't complete them during the rental period and you'd have to buy them. Then as we moved into the subscription model era, games were padded so that you would pay for the subscription for longer, looking at you, World of Warcraft. And as you move into the mobile era, games are padded so that you have to keep grinding, or better yet, buying endgame armor, weapons, and items and perks and all of that so that you can compete. I mean, it's literally always been a problem for one reason or another. You're totally right. Regarding Linus's stance on unionizing, at a certain headcount, there's just a need for some representation of employees. This should not be about failing as a boss, but having a structure where every employee has the ability to get his voice heard. Well, it's not 100, I can tell you that much. Honestly, my stance on this isn't gonna change. If people felt like we weren't taking care of them, yeah, I would feel like we failed. If you wanna interpret that as a bad thing, you can, but you're reaching pretty hard. Legally, I cannot put up any kind of barriers to unionization here, so I never would. But if it was necessary, yeah, I'd feel like we suck. We have a hot take from the one and only Andy. Screen bar is the best lamp in the world. Good God, Andy, you're not gonna win this with me. Pointing a light at your screen is literally the opposite.
Hear me out.
No, I will hear nothing.
The light beam will not shine on your screen.
Tell your union representative, and I'll sit down with them about it.
Someone put a screen bar on Linus' desk.
No!
Union.
The difference between 1080p and 1440p is way different than going from 144 Hz to 240, 100%. Yep, you're right. Eric says, I prefer my 1989 Model M over any modern gaming keyboard. I use it for gaming all the time. Yes, it's a good keyboard. I wouldn't personally use it for gaming. It has kind of a long travel for gaming, but the difference is pretty small. 5-inch 16:9 is the perfect smartphone size. Strong disagree. I actually really like the taller screens that we have today. That was a huge difference maker for me as someone who reads a lot and means less scrolling. It's definitely better. Most modern mechanical keyboards are an ergonomic nightmare. People use thick wrist rests with them because the keyboards are too darn thick. Wait, so are you saying that you think Apple's approach is better? Well, if you like that, I got a mouse to sell you, with the charging port conveniently located on the bottom. If you guys enjoyed this video, maybe you'll enjoy the one where you guys take shots at me and Linus reads mean comments.